Bare naked.
Bare naked. Bare naked. ABCs.
Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, where we care very deeply about covering the Bare Naked Ladies songs from 7 to Y. And this week is a rare treat because we get to discuss two rarities. It is sad, and I am greatly missing him, but Aaron is carefree in Disney this week, so I am hoping he is having a great time. But I am joined by longtime BNL fan, Michelle.
Hello!
And we are reaching into the dark archive to discuss Careless.
Careless. What's in a chocolate mousse? I couldn't care less. What are the 5 fruits and 5 alive juice? I couldn't care less. How old are Ernie and Bert? I couldn't care less. What's under Katie Lang's skirt?
Or you could also call it Couldn't Care Less, depending on where you try to find it. Which is off Buck Naked from 1989. This, I think, is the first song that we're covering off Buck Naked. So I want to discuss Buck Naked a little bit for people out there who didn't realize what it is.
Perfect.
I don't know how much you know about Buck Naked, Michelle.
Not much. I'm sure you're going to enlighten me. I'm excited to find out more.
This is one of those tapes, literally tapes. We have to go all the way back to cassette tapes to get to this. And this is one of those ones that when I was first discovering and reaching forth and wanting to do this podcast, I was like, okay, how much can I pull up? And this is one of those great rare things that popped up. And I was like, had no idea this actually existed.
Awesome.
And searched for months. And then luckily people had put out there this on the internet, on YouTube. So please, Bare Naked Ladies, do not put a cease and desist order out on this, or whoever management they have now. Please don't, because I love going back and listening to this stuff. Because you can't. I mean, there's less than 1,000 copies of these tapes out there. You cannot get them anywhere. And it's such wonderful memorabilia to have of this time.
Can you even buy a cassette player anymore? Like, are these even made?
You can, with the new retro kind of thing that's going on. Like,
yes.
Yeah, you can get the record players and you can get the tape players. But
I knew vinyl was making a comeback, but I wasn't sure about the cassette players. I do have a little teeny silver boombox that plays one tape and gets the radio in, but that's it. That's from a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
And it still works.
and tapes are how I first came to music. Like, I listened to them on the radio, but
Yep.
I come from the age where you had... I was lucky at my age of 10 years old to have a double-deck radio.
So you could tape and do the whole thing. You had a whole sophisticated setup.
I did, and I would sit there by the radio, like I'd call in, and you could actually make requests in the old days, and you'd wait for that tape, and you'd hit record. Oh, no, that's not the right one. Back up, rewind, and wait for your song to come on the radio, and that way you could have it.
And pray to God that they didn't talk over too much of the intro.
Exactly.
When they were, those were the days. Yes, I used to record Casey Kasem's Top 40 on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, no, I mean, those were the great days. A lot of stress in those days, like trying to get to the song you wanted.
Oh.
Stop, start, oh, butter.
Or God forbid your tape wasn't ready.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
bad. That was bad. Heartbreaking.
So this is the first demo tape. There are many demo tapes out there that they made. I believe there are 4 different demo tapes that they made prior to Gordon. This is the first one. It has a black and white cover, although there is also a green cover, because there's 4 different versions of this they made. They started making this as soon as Ed and Steve got together. The first version only had 5 songs on it. So it interested Sean Cullen of Corky and the Juice Pigs. They gave it to him. He listened to it, and he's like, you know what? I want you guys to join us on our tour of Canada. And that's what kind of started up their whole touring with them. which then brought them to a lot of different parts, including Halifax. which we'll cover a year from now.
Yes.
So this song, the one that we're covering tonight, which is Careless, was one of their early staples when they were doing live shows. It's the last song on both the second and the fourth versions of Buck Naked. It was written by Stephen and Ed, and it's sung by just Stephen and Ed.
Yes, clearly, yes. And it's so good. I mean, it really is. I don't want to jump ahead, but...
No, go ahead.
I just, listening to it, like, it's not a song I would necessarily go to, but it captures everything that is so great about Stephen and Ed working together. Like, just the free flowing of it, the topics that they cover, like, it just, listening to this song, I just feel like I am totally the same age as Stephen and Ed. And it is clear in every single reference they make in this song. Like, we totally would have been best friends in high school had we gone to high school together. Like, it's so good. And it just makes me appreciate them working together. So even though it may not be my favorite BNL song, I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love it. It's so good.
It's very early them. It's very reminiscent
Wicked.
Of that.
Yes.
It's not like this. So this is the first time that they ever mentioned Kraft Dinner. It's the first song they ever mentioned. And I get the feeling, because I'm trying to remember, and I'm actually going to take a second here and pull it up, because I want to make sure that I'm being accurate here. Looking at this, it wasn't until their last version of this, of the Buck Naked, that they actually had If I Had $1 Million come out. Now, they'd been working $1 million before this. It was the first song they ever wrote, and we'll come back to that. But, like, I get the feeling that there are versions and pieces of this song that they then worked into If I Had $1 Million.
This is like the prequel.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Like, it's like they combined this and If I Had $1 Million to make one super song.
Exactly. Yes.
And I love their camaraderie, and I love their banter that they're doing. I wish more of their songs had that.
It's them.
Yeah, we only have If I Have $1 Million on Gordon, which is like this in any way, really.
Yeah.
And I wish there were more on Gordon like this. I wish they had cleaned this version up. Like, cleaned this song up a little bit more, and then had that on Gordon, because this is the kind of music I enjoy with them, is where they're bantering, and this is what they do great live.
Wicked. Yes. It's so easy to listen to. It's enjoyable to listen to. You totally get that they're on the same page, and it's just enjoyable. Like, there's no other word for it. It's fun to listen to. And
you could tell, like, them playing it, and the more times they played it, and as they continued to do it over the years, it became more worked. Like,
yes.
The first version that we get on Buck Naked is very stark.
Yes.
So there is a brand new version out there that was just done by BNLHTP, or HTTP.com, where they took one of the tapes and put it back online, but had really cleaned up the audio from it. So there's a really good version of Buck Naked. I'll be including that in the liner notes.
Nice.
This version of Couldn't Care Less, or Careless, is very bare bones. Like, they haven't worked it much. It sounds like they had just written it and had just been working it before they put it on the tape.
I lied to you when I told you I like baseball. It's not so much the game I like, it's the hats. See this white bound round my neck? It's nice. It's not just fashion, it's made it to protect me from ticks, fleas, and gnats.
The second version, which is a live version in 1991, so they've been working on it 3 years almost at that point, and playing it in Toronto. You have Andy, you have Jim, and you have Tyler, so it's more flushed out. You hear more banter. I like that version. That's that. I wish it had been a little bit more workshopped, a little bit further, and put on a disc somewhere.
Yep.
I guess I lied to you when I told you I like baseball. It's not so much the game I like, it's the hats. Do you see this white band around my neck? How could I miss it? It's not just fashion. Heart's made it to protect me from ticks, fleas, and gnats. I couldn't care less.
I agree. Although, as you were talking, I wondered if maybe they just liked the roughness of it, or like it's just like a fun place where they go to hang out and just sort of get silly and do their thing and come up with, different spins and references that they could throw out there. And maybe it's just a place to like relax, you know what I mean? But I get what you're saying. Like, it would be awesome if it was on one of the early discs. That would be great.
Yeah, I get the feeling that, like, If I Had $1 Million became the one that became popular out of these two types, and so that's the one they kept going with for the banter and the fun.
Yes.
And this got dropped off to the side, and I wish it hadn't. I wish they'd kept both.
Yes. Agreed. 100%, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about the music.
Yes.
What was your take on the music? Like, we can cover both versions. Obviously, the one without Tyler and Jim and Andy is very stark. We have just guitars and vocals.
But really nice. Like, the stark version and the fleshed out version both have different charms. I don't have I'm like trying to compare myself to Aaron, and I don't have any kind of breakdown like that. But
no.
Breakdown. Aaron's gonna talk about chord structure and time.
Couldn't care less. Now, this song, we listened to two versions. The first version, the main quote-unquote version, is what I'm going to be basing most of my thoughts on, though I have thoughts about both. That version is recorded approximately 93 beats per minute. That version was in the key of C minor, I think. The guitar is very out of tune. It's like, I almost wonder, knowing BNL like I do, if that was intentional, because it almost is like perfectly between two notes. It's almost like a quarter tone or something. Very, very... I don't have perfect pitch, fortunately. I know I have a few friends who do, and it would probably drive them bonkers to hear that. For me, it did kind of throw me for a loop, and I'm trying to play along with the piano and like find the key of the tune. I was like, oh, okay, it's between here and here. The alternate version we heard was slightly more in tune, and that sounded like B flat minor. Interestingly, this is a good example of a song that's written in a minor key, but sounds kind of upbeat and happy. An opposing example of a song written in a major key but sounding sad is Goodbye to Romance by Ozzy Osbourne, throwing it out there. This song is very rough. Both versions are very, roughly recorded. They're rough takes. There is a certain kind of charm to that. It kind of reminds me... You know what this reminds me of, really? I don't know if you guys are either of you are hip-hop fans or particular nerdcore. Nerdcore is the kind of hip-hop. Imagine like Weird Al doing hip-hop and original tunes.
Weird Al's White and Nerdy.
Yeah, pretty much. But like an entire album like that, and not like satirizing particular tunes. So MC Frontalot, MC Chris, people like that. A lot of their albums, they'll have skits in between songs. Like a comedic skits. That's what this reminded me of, especially in the alternate version where they stop and discuss certain lines and things like that. And I like that. That was fun. And the whole thing is very kind of silly and fun, and I guess that's why I like it in spite of it being very rough around the edges. What with me being something of a production snob, for me, the only time I like to hear like rough recordings like this is like when it's like, this is from the Library of Congress and it's from 1894, and or this is from 1928 and it's as a recording of Big Rock Candy Mountain or whatever. That's got a charm to it, and that obviously you can't expect it to sound like it was produced by Bob Ludwig or whatever. But I do like nice and clear and crisp sounding recordings. Having gone to school for recording kind of drives me nuts when it's not. So that grated against my edges just a little bit. So I am going to have to be the curmudgeon this time around, because I know you guys like this quite a bit. I can only give Couldn't Care Less a solid, but nonetheless somewhat apathetic 3 out of 5 childhood icons. And I couldn't care less if you disagree with me. That's my thought. That's my hot take.
Aaron's hot take.
Hey, nice. Thank you.
I guess for me, both versions, I just listened to it just made me happy to listen to. You know what I mean? Just like the bonding, the camaraderie, the easiness of it, just the no stress, no weirdness, just fun. It just made me relaxed. and in this day and age, I really appreciated that.
And it's so much fun with the band where it has gone to come
Yes.
back to this early stuff.
Yes.
And it's like a hidden treasure that has just been found, and like people